Yo, what's up, friends? Welcome back to the local podcast. Today's episode of the podcast is brought to you by Greensburg Video. That's my video and photography company located right here on Main Street in Greensburg. If you and your company are up for some fresh ideas and some engaging content, look no further than Greensburg Video. You can check out my work at gbgvideo.net or greensburgvideo.com. My portfolio is growing daily, so you can check that out. Shoot me a message, and we'll figure out a strategy for you. Speaking of advertising, you can do that for your business right here on the local podcast. If you're interested in that, hit me up at thelocal724.com. Today, we have a much anticipated show for you guys today. We're talking with Sam from the Rustic Smoke Candle Company. Here we go. Welcome to the Local 724 podcast in 3, 2, 1. Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the Local podcast. I'm your host, Jordan Hauser. Today, we have Sam DeStefano, and she is the owner of the Rustic Smoke Candle Company. How are you doing?
I'm doing well. How are you?
Doing really good. I kind of stumbled onto your brand through my wife. She's obsessed with your candles, and I have to say they smell quite nice. Oh. So, like, even if we're at home or something, we're cleaning or doing anything, even though our house might be a mess or something like that, we kind of light up those candles, and it just kind of like makes everything feel good, nice and homey.
Totally.
Right. So I see that you're in your workshop.
I am.
Yeah. What are the silver pots there back there? Is that how you melt?
Those are my pouring pitchers. So I don't know if you can see it, but like behind me is like my big wax melter. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it's crazy to be in here because I kind of like never thought that this would happen, but I literally went from like pouring candles in my kitchen to now sitting in this shop that we redid whenever we moved into this house. So it's just kind of a crazy whirlwind of a time.
That's awesome. I mean, yeah. It's great. I'm really excited that it went the right way for you.
Yeah.
You started your business in 2020?
No, I actually started the business back in 2017.
Okay. So, you went full time in 2020, right?
Yeah, full time. Okay. I went in 2020. So I started it in 2017. And it's just been like a slow growing process. It was I try to put like some motivational things on my Instagram page and that kind of stuff, like just talking about how it's not always an overnight success. It's going to take time, and you just have to let yourself and your products and your business just grow the way that they naturally should, for your own timing. Yeah.
Yeah. It's important not to rush things. I feel like, people go out there and they try and make moves to get that to speed up. And a lot of times I feel like they're kind of tripping over themselves or maybe stepping on their own toes even.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I think like the one of the main things is don't start a business to make money. Mm-hmm. It's just do it because you love doing it. And the financial freedom will come with that as long as you just stay authentic and true to your brand and create relationships with your customers that will eventually become family, and you just kind of go from there.
Yeah, no, that's a great piece of advice. So whenever you started doing candles in 2017.
Yeah.
Okay. So before that, let's get back to the origin story of you.
Yeah.
Back when you were a kid, I mean, like what was one of the favorite things for you to do?
Oh, playing tennis. Playing tennis was my goal in life. I was going to go to the US Open, Wimbledon, all that kind of stuff. Yeah. So yeah, I played tennis. That was like my very first job, actually. I worked for my tennis coach, who in the summer times, he was a tennis pro out at the Fox Chapel Golf Club. So that was like my very first job. I was like the pro shop girl. I would like hit with a couple of the members, teach like little kid lessons, that kind of thing. And I would start at 6 a.m, and then I wouldn't leave until, I don't even think at that point I had my license. So he would like drive me back home, like once the day was done. But that was like my very first job. I loved playing tennis. And then whenever I went to high school, I started getting into like performing arts, music, theater, that kind of thing. And yeah, that kind of tennis and singing were kind of like my two big extracurricular activities, if you will.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's really awesome. You went to Greensburg Central Catholic?
I did. And I'm a WPIAL champion.
Whoa. Haven't heard that word in a long time.
Yes, I know, right? I'm like me and my doubles partner. I'm pretty sure it was our senior or junior year. We won the WPIAL and we finished third in the state. So that was like I said, tennis was like my thing.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Like when you were a kid, did you imagine running your own business? I mean, like you were putting in long hours there for tennis. I mean, longer hours than any kid.
Absolutely not. I think at that point, like, it's funny. I like think about this all the time and I'm like, I really had no idea what I even wanted to do in my life. I was just always a go person. I don't know. Everybody wants to be like a doctor or a lawyer or something like that. Which is just kind of like standard, but like I couldn't stand blood. So I was like, there's no way I can be a doctor.
And you're out.
That's not going to happen. So yeah.
Yeah, it's real interesting. I mean, like there's some people that I talked to on the show that like they feel like they had it figured out when they were a kid. They were
I absolutely did not. I did not.
Same here. Absolutely. I know that I wanted to start a business when I was a kid because like me and my buddy Brian and his little brother and my sister, we were always coming up with something. We were out there like shoveling snow, cutting grass, the Kool-Aid stands, doing this, doing that. And it's funny to hear that, like, some of the most successful entrepreneurs that I have on the show are some of the ones that are like, nope, I had no idea what the fuck I was doing. Just, totally, whatever.
Yeah, that's me. I had no idea. I think, as I grew up and as I continued to work and all that kind of stuff, I kind of knew like, it would be really cool if I could be my own boss because like for so long, I worked so many different jobs. I could like probably send you a list of 20 different jobs I've worked in the last I don't know, almost 20 years that I've, been here. So, but I think in the back of my mind, I always thought it would be really cool to be your own boss. Like you make your own rules, do your own thing, all that kind of stuff. But, until I became my own boss, I saw like, whoa, this is like hard stuff. I don't even know, like, I'm not near the point where, I have 10 employees or anything like that. It's just me doing everything.
Right. Yeah.
But I mean, it takes a lot of regimented schedules and,
self-discipline.
Kind of to be able to just keep it going the way that you need to.
It really is wild. Like that was kind of one of the first things that I realized whenever I started my business was just, like I'm not one for rules. I really don't enjoy when somebody is like telling me like,
oh my gosh,
oh, you're 5 minutes late. Like, dude, are you going to hang that over my head? Like, are we going to fight about this?
Yeah, exactly.
It's so stupid. And, so like I really got out of the corporate race because of things like that.
Yeah.
But now I'm like so excited that I had those opportunities to like learn that there does have to be some discipline. Do I need to be on time every day? No, I'm here at a different time every single day. But, if I have an appointment or I have a meeting or something like that, I'm here, I'm ready. And, that's exciting. So
like one of my favorite pieces of advice I ever got was a point in time whenever I was working for a very small manufacturing company out in North Versailles. It was like literally the first job I got whenever I graduated college, and I came home and was trying to find my way and be able to fund a little bit of a social life whenever I came back.
Beer money.
Yeah, beer money. Exactly right. But he said to me, whenever you have your own business, he was like, you're not an entrepreneur, you're an entrepreneur. You take a lot of shit from people. as I kind of like, started my own business, I could just hear him saying that in the back of my mind. Like, yeah, oh yeah. Like there's a lot of shit that you have to deal with. Like, so you're definitely an entrepreneur for sure.
Absolutely. Yeah. I'm going to steal that. That's fantastic.
Yeah.
Oh man. Oh God, is that true?
Isn't it?
It really is. I mean,
you don't realize it until like you're in it. You're deep in it,
Yeah. I mean, like I just had a meeting earlier and I was sitting there like kind of explaining my pricing and things like that. And I was just like, and I'm going to tell you up front what the cost is going to be. And if I go over it, then, I eat that cost. Like, I'm not going to come back and say like, well, hey, I couldn't do it in this amount of time and stuff. And, she was like, oh, that's really nice of you. She was like, you probably end up screwing yourself a lot. And I was like, yeah, throughout an entire year, no doubt. So, it was very funny. Yeah. But so you were into tennis. You went to high school. Where'd you go to college?
I went to West Virginia University.
Dang.
In Morgantown.
All right. There you go. That's a big place down there. Oh, it's a huge like city-ish town looking thing.
Yeah, it's definitely like a city in a town. Like everything happens like down on High Street, that kind of a thing. Oh my God. Sometimes I wish I could go back because it was so much fun, but not sure if I could hang anymore, but
no way. Not me.
Yeah, no way.
So would you go to college for?
I went for vocal performance. So I studied music at the College of Creative Arts.
Nice.
Yeah.
That is very cool.
Yeah.
So what did you end up doing with that degree? So
I mean, I really tried to pursue it. My mom, if she's going to listen to this, which I'm sure she will, she's going to hate me saying this, but singing and the music side of my life, it was something that I just happened to not suck at. And, I got a full scholarship to go to WVU. And like I said, tennis was my passion. Looking back at my life, even if I didn't go to school for music, I have no idea what I would have even gone to do. Mm-hmm. But it's a huge part of my life because, that is what I went and got my degree for. I did so many shows there. I made so many friends and it led me to a lot of different things in my life. And obviously I've always been a creative person. So it really brought out that side of me. But after I graduated WVU, I auditioned at a couple of graduate programs and I went off to do like a young artist program out in New York. And I lived in Harlem, New York for about 7 months. It was so awesome. So much culture there. It was so cool just to have that experience. So I was there for about 7 months. And then once the program was over, I moved back home. And then every Friday, my dad would take me to get the megabus on Friday morning, at like 5 in the morning. I would take the megabus all the way to New York City. I would have a voice lesson for 1 hour and I would come back home. And that was like my life as I was, working at Sephora. That was like, I was still trying to pursue it and all that kind of stuff. So I ended up getting accepted at Indiana University, which is obviously in Indiana. Mm-hmm. And they have a really, really good, high regarded vocal performance program. But something just wasn't right there. And I felt like I didn't want to, I just wasn't really into it. I didn't want to go. And it was a blessing in disguise because I had auditioned a couple months prior for the Pittsburgh Opera Chorus. And I ended up getting a call before I signed the papers to go to Indiana in the fall that I was called up to sing for their season that started. So I was like, well, you know what? This is it, Mom and Dad. I'm not going to graduate school. I'm going to sing with the Pittsburgh Opera Chorus. This is going to be so much fun. And it was, and I sang with them for almost 4 seasons. And It was a blast, a total blast. But
that's awesome.
Yeah.
I can't believe you were taking a mega bus for 1 hour voice lesson.
Back, I'm like, what was I doing with my life?
My God, Jessie and I, my wife, we rode a mega bus to New York one time.
Yeah.
And we were going to take flights and something got messed up with the ticket transaction online. I did it on my phone.
Oh my gosh.
And I screwed that up. And lo and behold, we end up on a mega bus. And that was the worst experience of my life.
The mega bus, it was like hit or miss. Sometimes you'd be on the mega bus, like you would just put your headphones on, just fall asleep, get there whenever you got there. But then other times it's like people want to be like, you make a pit stop at Penn State and then you have all these kids that are going to New York City. And it's like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. There was one guy that was sitting up like in the top front of the bus. So like he was like watching the whole thing, like from the window, but he was on his phone the entire night. I mean, and talking loudly, and he was on like a Bluetooth thing. Yeah. So he's just like sitting there, like flailing his arms around, screaming. And it was awful.
Not thinking anybody else is out there listening to him.
And this bus was full. I mean, it was packed. And there was a little Chinese man right behind me, and he took his shoes off, bare feet, on my armrest.
No.
And I was like, this isn't happening. This isn't happening. I hate feet. I would freak out. So I kind of kept elbowing his foot off of my armrest. And we got to New York and everything was fun. We had a blast. But on the way home, we were so mean. Like we literally, we got on the bus. We took the 4-person little table thing.
Yeah.
Stacked all of our bags on one side and we sat on the other, and people would come by and look at us, and we were like, keep walking.
It's just not happening. Keep going. Yeah.
Yeah. It was nuts. Yeah. Man, fuck megabus for real.
Yes. Yes. Never again. Never again.
Yeah. So why don't you take us through kind of a typical day in your life now? What are you doing, when you get to work and how you end your day?
Yeah. Well, I can tell you that when I wake up in the morning, I come downstairs, I make my pot of coffee, I let my dogs out, come back inside, put sweatpants on and a sweatshirt, walk over to my shop, which is such a great commute, by the way. If you can work from home and have your own little space, it's awesome.
Definitely.
No traffic.
Excellent.
So then I come over here and I, get the wax going, get it melted. And, if it's a pouring day, I pour all the candles. If it's, not a pouring day, which is usually every other day, I'll label and get all them ready to go and put on the shelves for, inventory and all that kind of stuff. Answer emails, send invoices, those kind of things, which the administrative side of my job is that's my least favorite part. So if you're listening to this and I haven't responded to your email, I truly apologize. But honestly, it's a lot of hands-on. I love being in here, doing physical work, just in here pouring candles. I'll turn on my speaker and just get going. It's just, and then the day flies by because I'm just out here all day long, just slinging some candles. So
yeah, it's awesome. So that's your typical day. How did this kind of all start for you? What were you doing?
Well, it kind of just started as a creative outlet in the evenings whenever my boyfriend, Zach, he works in the oil field. So, sometimes his schedule still has him out on night shifts. But for a very long time, whenever I first started this business, he was working night shift almost all the time. So we did not get to see each other during the week. We would only see each other on the weekends. And it just kind of started as a little hobby that I would do, whenever I would get off work and that kind of thing. But yeah, that's kind of how it started. And then I was giving the candles to my family and my friends as gifts. And then my mom was like, you should sign up for a craft show, do a craft show. And I'm like, really? Like, you think like I should do a craft show? And she was like, yeah, let's do a craft show. I'll help you. Like, we'll do a craft show. So, so I did like my first craft show, in like Christmas time of 2017. And it was at an old folks home in Greensburg. And I don't think any of the people that bought my candles, unless they were like the assisted, like the people that were assisting the elderly people, could even smell. So I was like, I don't know if you really like my candles or you're just buying them because they look kind of cute. I don't know. But that's kind of how it all got started. And then, I started my website and just, it slowly grew. That's like one thing that I try to tell people all the time is just, my business was not an overnight success. It has grown significantly, but slowly over the last 3 years. So, yeah.
And that's good to know. I mean, like, 2017. So like, that's like when you kind of just started like experimenting and having fun. Zach's out working, you're at home, and you're just trying to, keep yourself busy. Right. It's important for people to know that, these side hustles or these like hobbies that people take on, that is all work up until the time where you decide to take it a bit more serious. And then, so nothing is really an overnight success, especially like, you have to look at all the equipment behind you. You have to acquire all of that stuff. You have to have the overhead, the capital to get ahead and buy all of that. Yeah. And, it's just, it's interesting to know that, some people would think, oh, hey, I knew her and she used to sing and blah, blah, blah. Now all of a sudden she's like this awesome, like candle lady. Yeah.
The candle lady.
The candle lady. But, it is interesting to know. And that's a lot of why I like to do this podcast, because like, I want these stories to like come out and, people need to know that you worked your ass off. You really worked hard to be able to do what you're doing now. Yeah.
And I know it's not the same for every single person and business and everything like that is going to be different. But, I started this business with my own money. I never took out a loan. I never did anything like that. So it literally can happen for you if you think that, there's something that you're really passionate about. Like I said earlier, it has to be about your passion and your love for doing that thing, because whenever it does happen and that it does take over your life, it's going to literally consume it. So it has to be something that you love doing every single day, even on the stressful days, whenever you are dead tired, you wake up the next day and you're just like, I get to do it again. Like, here we go again. Like, it has to be like that. It can't be anything like, oh, if I own a small business, I can be my own boss and I can, make a lot of money. Right. It's not like that. It has to be all about what's in your heart and let it go from there.
Agreed. I did the same thing. I didn't take out a loan. I didn't borrow money from anybody. I just, I've been doing this for a long time. So like I would work and I would take a couple $100 out of my account, whenever I got my paycheck, and I'd buy a new lens or, and wait a couple more paychecks and then like take some money out of that and get like a background or something like that. That's just how things, I think that's honestly one of the smartest things that people can do, is really just not take on that huge financial burden of a big business loan. Like they want to scale too fast. And that's kind of like what we were talking about earlier.
Right. For sure. Yeah. And I mean, it's different. Like, if you have a brick and mortar store, that I understand, like that's, an expense because you have to like, set it all up and get that kind of going. But, just starting small and just letting it take you on the course of how your path is supposed to be. Just let it go. Like, just, your business might be different than mine. Mine is definitely different from other people. So like the comparison and seeing somebody, with success, there's a lot behind it. So
for sure,
something to remember.
Yeah. One thing I like to remind myself and other people who are like, if they getting down on themselves or something like that, it's just like Amazon started in the garage, Apple started in the garage.
I love that picture of Jeff Bezos in there. And I'm like, yeah, it's like amazing. Literally that's what it was.
Yeah. And that was so long ago. So like to think about, now he is this household name. We know who he is. But I mean, that picture was taken so long ago, and there he was sitting in his garage at this shitty little desk.
Yeah, seriously.
So it's awesome to know that. But so you're working hard, you're doing your thing, and your candles are kicking ass at these craft shows, right? Yeah. So what made your candles stand apart?
Well, I would say the biggest thing, at least for like the eye to catch them, is the wood chip finish. That is literally something I've done since my very first candle was poured and cured. I know it sounds crazy, but
what made you even think of it?
So it's like so funny. Well, I knew that I wanted to have something that set the candles apart. Like I knew I didn't want to color them. I didn't want to use like certain lids. Like I wanted to keep things very simple. But I was like, what can I do to like keep them rustic? So like my name, I love rustic things. I've always been attracted to that kind of a style and aesthetic. So I was like, well, what can I do to make my candle like really rustic? And I thought of this drink that I had at a Pittsburgh bar, and it's called the Smokestack. And it's literally whiskey that they put a grate on top and put like whatever kind of flavor wood chips you like on top and smoke like the wood chips in the whiskey together. So I was like, wouldn't it be cool if I could like put like wood chips on the top of the candle and like see how that goes?
That's awesome.
So then like, that's where the smoke comes in the name too. So like there's smoked wood chips. Cause some people are like, I'll be at a show and they'll be like, what's a smoked candle? I'm like, it doesn't produce smoke. It's just part of the name. Like, that kind of thing. But yeah.
Was it Industry? Was that the restaurant?
It was Industry. Yeah.
We went there for my wife's birthday.
Yeah. I love it there.
Some friends came and they ended up doing that. And it was wild. It was such a cool thing. Like they did it the first time they did it on the table, and then the next time they just kept bringing them.
And I just feel like whenever you walk in there, it's just like such a smell.
It's so nice.
Smell like all of like the smoky, like maple goodness and all that kind of stuff. So that's kind of like where it was inspired from.
Yeah, that's awesome. The first time we got your candle and I opened it up, I mean, like the two of us, we like a certain smell. Like it is and I think I might've got it like from my mom's house back in the day, like anything that smells kind of like a sugar cookie or, what was it? I think it was called Kitchen Spice from like, I don't know, Bed Bath Beyond or something like that, or whatever the candle
Bath and Body Works.
Bath and Body Works. That's what it was. My mom used to have that all across the house. And, so it was like kind of like that smell. And then Jess brought me one of your candles and I was like, oh man, I was like, this smells just like it. This is awesome. And then when I opened it, I remember seeing like the little wood chips in there, but I thought it was like brown sugar or something. And I was like, oh my God. I was like, it looks like you could eat this. Yeah. Then I later found out it was wood chips and I did not try it, but
good.
Yeah, it's so awesome. So like to get your wood chips and stuff, I mean, like, are you literally just taking a piece of wood? You're shaving off, pieces of wood or?
So I have them actually, I can like show you, but they look like this.
Wow. That's awesome.
This little container. And they're just like shavings of natural United States made wood trees and all that kind of stuff. So, everything is, from the US and, which I like to keep it that way. But yeah, that's kind of the thing. And then I just torch them on the top. So once the candle's burning, obviously the wood chips will melt into the wax and, you'll see them at the very tiny little bottom once your candle's finished and they'll be there still.
That's so awesome. So when you started doing your candles, you've been doing this since the beginning. It's such a cool thing. I guess your workshop. Your workshop that's a newer thing for you. You were doing this like out of the kitchen, out of a bedroom or something?
So I started pouring candles, and I was working. We were living in a 2-bedroom townhouse out in like Hunker and New Stanton. And
no way.
Yeah, right behind like Bellaterra Vineyards.
Yeah, I'm familiar with the place.
That's where I was. So we were living in a townhouse, and I literally had a pot and one of these little pouring pitchers in there, and it was a double boiler. So like the pot had water in it, and then that is what I would put my wax in and melt it like on top of the stove.
Yeah.
I still don't know how we got any of our security deposit back, because when we left there, it was like there was like little wax driplings like all over the place.
Yeah.
But that's where it started. It started like straight on the stove. And then I would just pour. I could only pour like 6 candles at a time using that thing.
Wow.
And so if you think about it, like I was going to Seven Springs doing Autumn Fest, and I was still making my candles on the stove doing that, like my very first year of Autumn Fest. And that's like a 2-3 day event.
Yeah.
And so I remember like bringing what I had, thinking that it was a lot. And it was just like, after that Saturday, they were gone. I'm like, Mom, what am I going to do? She's like, you got to go home and make more candles. So I was like, I got home from Seven Springs. I like fired up the stove, and I was like, here we go. I'm going to make more candles.
Just pouring all night long.
Pouring all night long. So
is that a one day, it would work like that? So like you could do it at like evening time and everything would be ready by the next day? Yeah.
I mean, there's a lot of people out there that make candles and think that it has to cure a certain amount of time. Mm-hmm. Now, obviously, the longer that you cure the candle, like the stronger the scent will be, at least hot throw wise.
Okay.
But I have tested candles and have burned them like within 2 days of me making them, and they are totally fine. So it's just kind of whatever works for you. But yeah, whenever I first started, that's just like, that was my first show. And I was like, oh my God, like I don't have anything to bring like the next day. So that's what happened. But I mean, I'm a little bit more organized with it now, but.
Right. Well, that's good. Yeah. Now I imagine you've scaled up. Like how many you were pouring 6. How many are you pouring now?
Oh yeah. Right now I have 1, 2, 3, 4 tables full. Oh my gosh, I probably pour 600 a day.
Whoa. Mm-hmm. That's so awesome.
Yeah.
That's incredible. That's a hell of a scale.
So it's crazy. It's crazy. But I mean, even though I used to only be able to pour 6 at a time, I would be in there all day long, like pouring. So yeah. And I'm one of those people, like, which is another thing that I think if you want to be your own boss, you kind of have to have is just, you have to be a little bit hard on yourself. I have always been hard on myself. I had a woman one time write like a resume. I needed like a referral. And it was like, what is a positive thing and what's a negative thing? And she wrote the same thing for both. She was like, she cares too much and she cares too much.
Yep.
So I think that is something that you have to kind of get
it's got a balance.
You kind of have to get a handle of it. But, you know, if I wake up one morning and I don't get the things that I had in my mind done, I'm like, man, Samantha, like you could have done more today. So then I tried to like have that on my plate for the next day. But, you know, it just requires a lot of discipline, like we talked about earlier. And, but like, if you love what you do, it's okay.
I mean, that breaks down to a time versus passion at that point. Oh, it's exactly. Just, you know, do I want this to be absolutely perfect? And in the world of video, I need things to look a certain way, but I also then have clients saying like, we think this is awesome. You're the only person that sees that minor flash or whatever. And I'm like, nah, let me one more export. I was like, let me fix that and I'll send you one more.
Exactly.
And it sometimes it's honestly just like, it's really not worth it to worry about. But
yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely like, you have to balance it a little bit, but like if there's,
my camera went, I'm still here.
Oh, you're fine. But yeah, so, I mean, if I put a label or a sticker on a candle and it doesn't look exactly right, then I burn that for myself in the house. So,
oh yeah, right on.
I'm the one always burning like what I call the rejects, but they're really not even rejects, but those are the ones that I have for myself.
Well, that's awesome. That would, that would be awesome. So you have like, your own stash.
I do. I have my own little stash over here with all the ones that are not perfect,
nice.
But they're mine.
So how do you plan on like growing your business? What's your plan for that?
Yeah. Well, now that I have a larger space, obviously building inventory was like my number one goal, at least for this year. So having more inventory, which would help me be able to ship out orders fast and quicker, get wholesaling orders fulfilled on time and, quickly was one of my main goals. Now, as I grow my business, I know I am going to need more help. And I know that so many people have reached out to me on Instagram, and on Facebook, like saying like, hey, like whenever you're ready to hire somebody, like I would love to come work for you. And, I think that's a little bit intimidating, because I'm like, oh my God, like I've always worked for someone else. I've never, and now I work for myself. So like, I don't really know like how to have like people working under me, but I think down the road, that's definitely something that will happen and it'll be fun and it'll be another learning process and, we'll just roll with that.
Yeah. I think like you said, like how your clients turn into family, a small business like that is one of the greatest things in the world because, you and your employees, you turn into family. I mean, like the first small business that I worked for was a video job. Yeah. And my boss was only a few months older than me. And it literally like that guy was like my brother. And, even just a few weeks ago, I put up on Facebook, like that I moved into my new studio space. Yeah. And he just wrote me this email and it was just like, dude, I'm really proud of you and blah, blah, blah. And that's like such an amazing connection, that we've made and stuff. And it's very cool.
Yeah, it is really cool. And I think, that's something that I've always felt too, is like the people that buy my candles, they're ones that, they send me emails and, they say how much this particular candle meant to them and how they gave it as a gift for their grandmother with Grammy's Kitchen and, that kind of a thing. And that just is like, you guys are like family members. There's something really different about, whenever I was working, like, for example, at JCPenney, I remember the manager of the store came up to me and she was like, Samantha, you need to think of every single person that walks in here as a dollar sign. Yeah. And I just was disgusted by that. I was like, are you kidding me?
Right.
Like I'm not even selling my own products, but like I have relationships with these people that they'll come in and want to have me help them. And I, just kind of like the entrepreneur thing, that was one of those things that stuck in my mind. And I was like, I will never treat somebody like that. That is just not how I would want to be treated as a patron of someone's business. And so that's why, it's just different. I wish I could give like so many things away all the time. Right. But it's just crazy how it all goes.
Yeah. So you're, what do we want to say here? Probably 3.5 to 4 years in business. What's some advice that you think that you would give yourself 3 years ago?
3 years ago, what would I tell myself? I'd probably tell myself that things are going to grow, and you can't be afraid of them. Growth is a really cool thing, and it can also be a really scary thing. And you have to be able to adapt to change and to different situations, some situations that you would never think you would have to deal with, that you do have to deal with. And, I kind of had to deal with that this past year whenever we
hey, I'm back.
there you are. But whenever we were dealing with, the pandemic, and, I quit my job like 2 weeks before. And, after that, it was like the whole world shut down. And I was like, well, what am I going to do now? But people were spreading word of mouth, and they were home, and they wanted to feel comfortable, and they wanted to feel cozy, and they confided in me to help with that. And that to me was just like the best feeling in the world. If I can make a pandemic feel somewhat comforting for you, then I would love nothing more. But that was one of the really hard adjustments. And then, going through it, I was, trying to order jars, and then jars were not available. And all these products that I was used to being able to get on hand right away were not able to be shipped or delivered. So there were significant delays in things. And I had to switch my jar and switch my lid, because if I were to wait, who knows when I would have been able to produce more product.
Right.
So there was a lot of adjusting going on. So, you have no idea what's going to happen. I mean, things for my business there's been times where they have gone really smoothly. And I felt like that's how I knew I was on the right path, because things did go easier for me than what I was pursuing previously in my life. So I feel like that's one of the things that you kind of know when you're on the right track, whenever things just kind of go with the flow. But there are things that happen that you just can't control, and you just have to be able to adapt and deal with them. Yeah,
that's awesome. So talking about your creativity a little bit, I just kind of wanted to know, what kind of sparks your creativity? What your sense? How many of those do you have?
Oh my gosh. Currently I have 11 to 12 originals that I keep on hand year round. And I have my wood wicks that I'm hoping that will come back in stock here soon. So I have 3 of those. And then seasonally, I mean, fall is my big season. It's my favorite season.
Yeah.
So I usually release anywhere from 6 to 8 scents for the fall, just because I love it. And I know so many other people love it. And it's so much fun, because whenever I'm testing out the scents, it's fun doing that, but it's also really fun naming them. And I always try to do something that's a little bit more creative outside of the box whenever I'm naming them. Because whenever I'm seeing people in person, they're like, oh, what's Grammy's Kitchen? What's that smell like? And then they want to lift it, and then it's intriguing. But yeah, so just kind of go like that.
That's awesome. Yeah. I was wondering how you come up with, your specific names, or, scents. Is this something that, obviously you have a theme, you got this, the rustic theme and things.
Yeah.
Do you think that, I guess next season, will you be able to come up with new things every single season, do you think?
Yeah. I mean, usually my big 2 releases are the summer scents come around. So I usually have a really good peach. Last year I had a watermelon scent that everybody loved. A pear, things that are more fruity, lighter, stuff like that for the summertime. And then obviously in the fall, I release so many, but the cool things about it is that whenever some scents are so popular, for example, last fall, I released a scent called Cozy. And that one did so well that I just ended up keeping it year round, because everyone was like, please don't get rid of it. Please don't get rid of it. And I was like, okay, if you don't want me to get rid of it, I won't. But there's like certain scents, like, my mountain pine magic, which comes around in the winter time, which, that's just one of those ones that you can wait until Christmas time to grab that scent.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to see like what people's noses are like going toward.
Yeah. It's interesting for real. I mean, like I think my wife met you at the Ligonier County Market.
Yes.
Country Market
Yeah. The Ligonier Country Market.
She came home with these candles and she was like, you've got to like busting through the door. And she's like, you've got to smell this. And like, because like I said earlier, like we really like our house to smell like a certain way. It's just comforting. Yeah. And, so I'm smelling these and I was like, oh my gosh, like this is really great. This is really great. And, yeah, it was just like, and then when I was, looking through your website, cause she allows me to pick one and then she'll pick like, I don't know, one or two or whatever. Yeah. And, but I am a big fan of like the pine and stuff. And, she is kind of not, so we have to like, sometimes those candles end up in my office.
Yeah.
But, yeah, it's awesome.
Well, it's
you do a really great job.
Glad that you brought up the Ligonier Country Market because that was like the highlight of my year this past year. If it wasn't for the Ligonier Country Market, I would not have been able to gain as much exposure personal wise as I was able to, because, all the other events that I had signed up for, unfortunately, were canceled. So it was a really good way for me to kind of get out there and for people to be able to see my products in person and to smell them and all that kind of stuff. So I'm super grateful for the market that was able to continue to go on, because that was a game changer for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. My last question actually is just kind of, what is your favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur?
My favorite aspect of being an entrepreneur. Just honestly being able to connect with people on a business level and on a personal level. Like I said, being able to put a product out there that makes somebody feel good. That to me is just that my life is complete, because, I'm making something that I put in a lot of work by producing this product, and because it makes you feel comforted and cozy, and now you have to buy 7 of that certain scent at one time.
Right. Yeah.
I love it. It's like it's the best feeling. I mean, hearing how much people love your product is awesome. But whenever it makes them feel good, it makes me feel good, and it makes me feel like I truly have a purpose in what I'm doing, whether it's just something as small as candle making. So it's just, I'm really grateful for it.
Right on. That's awesome. I'm really glad that things are going very well for you. And like we said earlier, this wasn't like an overnight thing, you've been working your ass up for it. So it's great to see that, things are going well for you.
Thank you very much. Thank you for having me on.
For sure. Absolutely. Where can people find you?
Oh, you can find me on website. Instagram. Yeah. Find me on Instagram, RS Candle Co. You can find me on Facebook, Rustic Smoke Candle Co. And then online, rusticsmokecandleco.com.
Awesome. Very cool. All right, Sam, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you so much.
There goes Sam DeStefano of the Rustic Smoke Candle Company. You can check them out online at rusticsmokecandleco.com. And same for Facebook, Rustic Smoke Candle Co. on Facebook there. And definitely check them out on Instagram as well. You'll be happy that you did. I hope you guys enjoyed this episode. If you did, hit that share button, please. It really does help spread the word for these local businesses and this very podcast. So it's very important that you do that. I'll see you next week for a new episode.